Welcome. I call to order the Monday, July 11th, 2016 legislative session of Swarthmore Borough Council. I note that all members are present, as is the mayor. At this point, we would welcome public comment on any subject of interest to the business of the borough. When you speak, you come forward and state your name and address and share what you have to say with us.
I'm Greg Brown, 285 North Swarthmore Avenue. I'm also VP for Finance and Administration at the college. Tonight, our focus, and with me, I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm Mike Hill, Director of Public Safety. I don't live in the borough.
So we're here
Because he can speak anyway.
we're here because of the work that's gone into the memorandum of understanding that I know that you've all received and the Public Safety Committee has reviewed. And we want to thank particularly the members of that committee for the work that went into putting the document together. Although it sort of came from a federal requirement, I think what it's done is really memorialize the relationship that Mike's team has with Brian's team, and I think it's terrific. And so just that's with you. And we wanted to take the advantage of this MOU to also acknowledge a particular member of Brian's staff who had a flat tire on his way here. So he's not here. But I'll let Mike take over from there.
That's my rule of thumb. If it can happen, it will.
Exactly. So I want to say how much we appreciate the working relationship we've had with Chief Craig and all the officers in Swarthmore Borough. It's been, the timing of this meeting has worked out really well for us. Last fall, Sergeant Ray Stubbs helped the college tremendously when we had a really tragic event on campus. And we didn't lose sight of that. And I think, particularly given the times and things that are happening in the recent past, while we're given this, and we obviously didn't order it today, we ordered this a while ago, it's very fitting to talk about the service that police officers do for our community and not to forget to thank them for what they do every day. So we thought we'd give this to Ray as an appreciation for his efforts, October and prior to that and forevermore, but it just so turns out that he's not here. So in his absence, there's all good chiefs.
Is the tire not being fixed, or is he not on his way?
He's trying his best.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So in his absence, we'll turn it over to the chief and let him accept it for him, and if he shows up, you can still tell him it's not his. So this is just our building, and
I'm always in everybody's.
That's the
actual building. That's where we are.
Oh, you're in the Benjamin West?
Yes.
The Benjamin West birthplace?
Yes.
Not only that, my wife is named for Barbara Pearson, who was actually born in that building.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know that. We could have taken parish.
Other people think of it as the Benjamin West building, I think of it as the Barbara Pearson.
I think that's her office.
I'm done with flag. Is there any other public comment tonight? Dave, do you want to say anything about the MOU, just about?
I can,
in general terms?
in general terms, sure. I mean, it was going to be part of my committee report, but,
Okay.
but we, just in general terms, the Public Safety Committee at our last meeting discussed the MOU, and as Greg mentioned, it is in some ways something that the college needs to do in order to be in full compliance with federal law and regulations, but I also think it's more than that. I think it's a great thing to memorialize the kind of cooperation that we have had and hope to continue to have between the Swarthmore Borough Police Department and the Public Safety Department and the college and the college as a whole. So there was a little bit of back and forth on some of the wording. I think we've arrived at what is pretty much a final version of it. However, just to be sure, I'd like to clear it with you guys, with the college one more time, if that's acceptable to you. And then I think that would mean that at next month's meeting, we could vote on it and it would be a done deal. But the Public Safety Committee discussed it at our last meeting. We had no further changes to make to it. But I just want to make sure that the borough and the college are on exactly the same wavelength as far as the wording goes.
Okay. I would note events of recent days around the country have brought home to us the importance that the police play in our day-to-day lives and the risks they assume on our behalf, the challenges they meet, the challenges they face in dealing with a diverse population. But I think it's important with the chief here and with representatives of the college here who deal with public safety to convey the importance that this council and the citizens of Swarthmore place upon the quality and functioning of our police department and their dedication to the citizens of the borough. And likewise, we appreciate the professionalism of the public safety folks at the college and as they confront the many kinds of obligations now imposed upon them by federal law, which are difficult in their own way, if not as immediately life-threatening. But again, while people adopt hard positions on one side of an issue, we ourselves in our hometown want to express our appreciation for the service rendered to our citizens by our police and our appreciation that they do it on our behalf.
Here, here.
At this point, is there any other public comment? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to approve the council meeting minutes of June 13, 2016.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as circulated. Environment Committee,
No report.
will you meet this month?
No.
Finance Committee,
Yes, I do have a few things. Financial report for through the month of June. A couple of comments. Things look to be pretty much on track. Just the revenue is actually a bit higher than expectation. Some of that's due to parking meters. I think part of that is obviously we've added new spots and plus the change in SEPTA, which we didn't budget for it, even though it only accounts for about 2 weeks through June. Also, parking permits for some of the same reasons are stronger than we expected. Also, transfer tax from property sales is also higher. So, and also the performance grant was received earlier this year, so that's a bit of a timing issue. And then on the expenditures, again, a little bit higher than expected, but part of that's also timing as due to loan payments. So that pretty much looks on track as well. So I think from a financial report point of view, things look like they're on track as far as they can for 6 months into the year. And the cash balance at the end of June was $2,547,927. Any questions on that financial report? Okay, moving on to the transactions to ratify. I'd like to move to approve transactions to ratify in June totaling $24,531.48.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion about any of those items? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving those transactions, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at the open invoices for the month of June. I'd like to make a motion to approve open invoices totaling $341,345.91.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on any item on that list? There being none, all those in favor of approving payment of those bills, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They're approved for payment.
Okay, and then finally, we have started the process, as most of you are aware, of reviewing our pension consultant, which has been Pierce Park for the last 8 years. We did put out an RFP, and the pension committee has done as much as they can do, and now it's moving on to the finance committee before bringing it to the full board. So we will have a finance committee meeting this month, I hope. We have to work around schedules, so we may have to think about what the exact date will be. I guess we'll notify the public as to what that date will be, but I'll send out an email tonight. We'll try to figure out what works best for everybody. Maybe the typical date works, but if not, we'll major on it.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. General government?
I have nothing to report except that we are going to have our regularly scheduled meeting on Monday, July 18 at 8:30 in the morning. And the library specifically requested to make a presentation about the results of their survey about the use of the library, so that will be presented then.
Interesting. Okay. Planning and zoning?
Our committee did meet last month, and we talked for the bulk of the meeting about the college's presentation at the June Planning Commission meeting about their new building, the biology, engineering, and psychology building. If you want to hear more detail about the building, I can go into it now, or we can save it till when it's before the Planning Commission. But the key points are that they're going to be seeking the preliminary land development approval in September of this year. They're going to be seeking a building permit to be issued in March of next year, and they hope to have the entire complex completed by the year 2020.
Okay.
The other thing that we discussed at the committee meeting was the proliferation of plastic signs in the borough, lawn signs, and what, if anything, to do about those. And in looking at the zoning code, we believe that there is a 30-day limit on having such a sign on your lawn. So the code enforcement officer, Mrs. Billings, is going to be paying attention. She's going to be driving around and paying attention to all those signs and enforcing that code provision. We are going to be meeting on July 26th, and we are still going to meet at 7:30 a.m. this month, although we're looking into maybe moving the meeting to the evening, not only for the convenience of the committee members, but also maybe in an effort to get the public to attend the committee meeting.
Okay. You haven't had thousands of people attending your 7:30?
We have not, but to the viewing public, if you would like to attend the planning and zoning meeting, you can tell what kind of topics we deal with, so please come. That's it.
Public Works, Parks and Recreation, no, Public Safety, excuse me.
Right, so several items we discussed at our meeting in June. I mentioned the MOU with Swarthmore College. I won't repeat what I said, but my plan is to get a clean copy of that to the college for review and then to circulate it to every member of council as well, so that's something that council can vote on next month. We also discussed the situation of the Swarthmore Fire Protective Association and budget projections for coming years, for quite a few years out. In connection with that, we are still discussing how those financial commitments might be met, both through work done by the Swarthmore Fire Protective Association itself, through borough funds, contributions from the college and other sources of funding, and that's still under discussion, but it should come as no surprise to anyone that as time goes on, it becomes increasingly clear that it's going to require a greater level of, I'll call it, for want of a better word, outside funding. That is to say, funds that are not raised by the fire company itself, in order to keep both fire service and ambulance service going in the borough. And Jane did a fantastic job working with the Fire Protective Association to put together some budget projections for coming years. I think, Jane, we went out as far as 10 years. Did we go farther than that? As far as 10 years, and working on the assumption that there would be a 100% staffing level as far as the ambulance service is concerned. So we're working on some numbers there, and that's still kind of a work in progress. Another thing that we discussed, and this, again, no decisions have been made. This has to do with parking for both uniformed and non-uniformed borough employees. The Public Safety Committee meeting will meet this month again, and that's another thing that's going to be in our agenda. So that's still under discussion. We're not ready to come to council yet with a recommendation on that. Just so everyone knows, by way of background, traditionally, borough employees, both uniformed and non-uniformed, and fire volunteers have, in most cases, park for free at no charge. So, but again, that's on our agenda for our committee meeting this month, and we'll have some recommendations to make to council on that score. So while I'm on that subject, we will meet this month. It's Tuesday, July 19th, I think it is. It's July 19th. That'll be a week from tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. here in this room. One last thing I want to mention is the Civil Service Commission. We have someone who's willing to fill one of the vacancies anyway. Sorry? Hey, don't say that. I want to commend Vicki Herr for stepping up and agreeing to do this. That's H-E-R-R is the way her last name is spelled. She has a very impressive resume. She's a lawyer, was admitted to the Pennsylvania Bar in October of 1971. She's a member of the Delaware County Bar Association, a graduate of Temple University School of Law. She lives here in Swarthmore at 512 North Chester Road. She has, as I said, stepped forward and asked to be considered for an appointment to the Swarthmore Civil Service Commission.
Are you moving her appointment tonight? Or
I am hereby moving her appointment to the Civil Service Commission.
Okay, and what is the term of membership? Is it for life?
6 years.
6 years, okay. So,
Death or life?
Whichever comes. I'm just kidding.
in fact, 6 years. Is there a second for?
Second.
Okay, very good. Any discussion on that?
I have a question again. I know I always ask Bob this question. I know that it's fine for me to be a member of the commission, but should I abstain from voting on who else is on it?
No, abstain.
Okay, so I can vote for whoever I'm on with
Now,
it?
good to be sensitive about these things.
Please
All
pass.
those in favor of this recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? No, she's appointed with thanks.
Very good. That's all I have there.
Can I make one comment? Because I attended Mr. Cregan's meeting and with the discussion about the fire company, which was very interesting, extremely informative, very important. And there were two factual items in it that I just want to mention because I found them very informative. One was that, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, at one point there was an EMS type course up at the college, and that kind of didn't work out because of scheduling at one point, but they're working very hard to bring that course back and to get it scheduled, and that is something that makes it easier for college students to contribute because they get college credit then if they participate and they get this training. I found that very interesting, a very positive thing. And then Rick Lee also clarified that there had been, it sounded like as many as 10 college students who had taken the test and who were going to volunteer, and they had passed the test, but apparently state requirements are that you then have to take this onerous, long, many hours of training within 90 days of taking the actual written test, and they timed out, and so then they would have had to start it all the way from the beginning again, and that is one of the reasons, logistically, why it's hard to get people to volunteer, because these state requirements are really onerous. I just thought that was very interesting to know as a fact. So that's all I wanted to
Oh, no, thank you.
Right after that meeting, we did contact the director of the pre-medical program at the college, and she was very anxious to get something going again with the fire company. The kids really liked volunteering, but it was just sort of fell apart for a little while. So I don't know if they've met yet or not, but certainly all the connections have been made.
Okay, thank you. Public Works, Parks, and Recreation.
Thank you, David. We met briefly last month during summertime meeting, light attendance, light topics. Really two topics. We had a request to look into a dog park and a mojo park, and at least between the three of us on the committee, we decided not to pursue that.
Okay.
No one seemed to think it was a good idea. The second topic was the signage at Central Park.
Yes.
Which our one attendee of our meeting was the mayor, who did an excellent job of kind of walking us through the centennial Foundation's thoughts on the signage. So it's essentially, and I can pass it around, or you can walk outside and see it, because they've done some temporary stuff that went with the grand opening, or soft grand opening on the 4th of July. So there's essentially 3 big signs. So one at the entrance of the park, at the plaza, which would be the borough sign. As our committee kind of discussed, we should acknowledge the people that funded all this. So that would be our sign for the Centennial Committee. Oh, we got visuals, here we go. So that would be the first sign. Then essentially the Centennial folks wanted 2 signs. So the first sign they would have would be at that initial plaza. And then the second one would be over here at the amphitheater. Am I going too grand a word?
No, that's what they call it.
That's the right. So that's the second kind of. They're the 3 big signs.
Right. Yep.
So down from that, there was other signage. So we wanted to be clear with all the signage. So there's a lovely memorial. I had it in a minute. Fire chief tree. Yes. So they replanted a tree, and we're going to relocate that marker.
Right, it's been done. Right?
That's the garden marker. So they had another big donor. So there was a small garden marker. And then the last one was just an acknowledgement to the Eagle Scout that built that lovely shed, the garden shed, and typical of signage in town. Almost all the Eagle Scout projects, whether it's benches or whatever they've done, have their names on them. So from the committee's perspective, all 3 of us loved it all seemed very well thought and very tasteful.
I knew that your committee would just.
Well, the only thing I would say though is we will circulate the verbiage on our sign. So if anyone has any recommendations before we go to official print on it.
Okay. And that's the sign that directly faces the car. Right?
Correct. And that is quote unquote our sign. So if there's
perfect.
any verbiage there.
But again, look at it. If you have any thoughts on it, please convey them to Dave.
We will not meet this month. We don't have enough on our agenda, and I won't be in town. So.
Okay.
Just one quick thing. The next step with the signage is to make actually cast aluminum versions of them, which will be permanent and permanently mounted in both the Randburg walls and on the blue stand.
I'd like to thank the mayor for his efforts publicly. It's a lovely project.
Mayor, anything to share with us this evening?
Well, I think we survived another July 4th in pretty wonderful fashion. I think it was a beautiful day. It was turnout was as good as I can remember for turnout for the 4th. The bike races went without any injuries, including the adults who actually for the first time raced in the bike race. Questionable logic about that one, but that's
Mr. Dawes taking it.
Mr. Dawes. And the grand opening, I think, in terms of the ribbon cutting for Central Park was a pretty wonderful affair.
Very
nice. In particular, Ed Jones and Guy Smith were honored, and both were surprised but spoke very well about the thing and seemed very pleased.
Yes.
And I can report that the park is getting used. A lot of people are there. I stopped by 3 or 4 times over the weekend. There were always people in the amphitheater having picnics or just chatting and talking. And the walls in the plaza area seem to be very popular as well. A lot of people looking at the engraved pavers, which were done. The Centennial Foundation will be doing one more round of pavers, which will be probably later in the summer for a September install sort of idea with that. And reiterating what David said, the Dunn family was very well represented at July 4th. They had, I think, 15 people from the family, including 5 people who drove down from Canada to be here for it. So it's
Right.
good stuff.
For the new pavers, will people be permitted again to buy pavers
Yes.
that missed it the first time around?
That's true.
Okay.
There's a lot of questions and activity about that, so they're going to open up. And as you might imagine, with a project like this, there are always some additional costs that come through at the end. But Basically, in terms of dealing with the contractor, and we actually were slightly below what our agreed to budget was when the way the ads worked and all the kinds of things. And next week, Massey Burke will be back to do some light patching on some of the rammed walls and apply the sealant for the winter. And then the last thing to come will be the electric car charging station, which I think we're going to talk about at council next month.
More in David's committee.
David, committees first.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And as I've noted on other occasions, it was a pleasure to be able to watch quality craftsmen build something right before our eyes. I think Premier did a wonderful job, and it was fun to watch while it happened. Borough manager.
I'm sorry, can I just comment, because in the interim, I've heard some people actually in the town who didn't know that it was not being paid for by the town, that it was being paid for by Centennial. I think most people know it's paid for by Centennial, but it might be well to note that it actually was the Centennial Foundation that paid for it, and that it was in excess of $600,000.
Right. Yes. For those out there in TV land who've been asleep for the last year and a half, the fact is that over Centennial Foundation raised, and we were the conduit through which the money was, the way the checks were written, but apart from the parking lot, which we would have paid to have repaved in any event, the Centennial Foundation and its donors are responsible entirely for the funding of the project. So it cost the citizens of town are great beneficiaries of a wonderful project that cost them however much it cost to pave the parking lot. And we, on behalf of the citizenry of town, are very appreciative to the Centennial Foundation for that. Thanks. Borough manager.
If there are no questions on the manager's report, the only thing I have is that we have received our paving schedule from Glasgow. They'll be paving for us for the third year in a row. And we are last on their list, as we always are. They move from north to south. Because remember, we did with Norfolk and Springfield and get some pretty great prices by having such a large project. They will be here the last week in August. And actually, they predict the entire project will take 2 days.
Okay, next one. Right. Bob, solicitor?
Thank you, I don't have anything to report.
Okay. Any member of council have any other business item to bring to us tonight?
I just want to add one for the finance committee meeting for this month. I'd like to try and do it on the scheduled date, which is Monday the 25th at 7:30 a.m. If that's a problem, I want to make sure that all the committee members will.
That's fine.
If that will work. If not, let me know. There's some information we have to get out to you.
Okay, anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.